13 News at 4 starts today with breaking news from Mooresville. A high school student now behind bars and facing charges for allegedly planning a mass shooting.
The 18-year-old is accused of planning the shooting during lunchtime at Mooresville High School. So we have team coverage tonight. We actually begin with Samantha Johnson, who is live outside the high school with all we need to know right now. Samantha, can you fill us in on what you've learned?
Well, Felicia and Dustin, we can tell you this all started earlier this week on Tuesday when the FBI received a tip from someone here at the high school saying their friend was planning a mass school shooting here at Mooresville High School. After that, police say they were able to identify the suspect in this case as 18-year-old Trinity Shockley. We understand from police they searched her home earlier this week. They say they found a few AR-15 magazines, a box of .40 caliber rounds, and even a soft armor vest inside that home, along with several messages that this student allegedly communicated with fellow students, essentially bragging about what these plans were. Messages like, quote, "I've been planning this for a year." Now, we can tell you, based on the documents we've just received and read over from police, they also interviewed the head of mental health for the Mooresville Consolidated Schools. And we can tell you, according to that person, back on October 12th, just 2 weeks after this student's 18th birthday, she allegedly signed herself up for mental health assistance. As we mentioned, we are just receiving all this information from the police here in Mooresville. We can tell you as of right now that student is preliminarily charged with conspiracy to commit murder and 2 counts of intimidation, threat to commit terrorism here at the school. We understand that student is now in the Morgan County Jail without bond. So Dustin and Felicia, of course, we just got here to Mooresville. Logan Gay is also here in town getting more information from police. So as soon as we have more, we'll bring that to you here on 13 News.
All right, we'll talk again soon, Sam. Thank you.
And we're working to learn more from Mooresville police about this investigation and arrest. As you can imagine, everything is really happening right now.
As Sam just mentioned, court documents say this all started with an anonymous tip to the FBI. Logan Gay continues our team coverage. He's also in Mooresville for us this afternoon. Logan, you just got done talking with police. What did they tell you?
Yes, Dustin, I literally just walked out the door just moments ago. So the police chief told us, oh, that came FBI to the Morgan County Sheriff's Department. Morgan County Sheriff's Department then contacted the Mooresville police and the investigation began. And like Sam said, she was arrested and formal charges were today. Now, the police chief, he said a lot of things. And one of the things I noticed, he said that when they searched Trinity's room, they found pictures of mass shooting, like pictures that she had around her room. She also had pictures of still investigating what the...
Well, it's very disturbing. I mean, this is a small town, and a lot of us have, I mean, I have family that goes there. And a lot of my guys have kids that go to Mooresville High School. And to think, you know, nothing ever happens in Mooresville, it's a small town, but to think that somebody was plotting to hurt a lot of individuals, kids, I mean, future leaders of this country or whoever, is pretty disturbing.
Yeah, the police chief also mentioned that Trinity used to actually come here and drop off cookies and pictures and had a great relationship, they thought, with the police. So he is very surprised that this would happen, especially from her. Now, that mass shooting was supposed to be, she had planned it for tomorrow on Valentine's Day. So this all happened right on time. He does not think that there is any more danger to the public or to students. They have quite a few officers already who work at that school. So he says students and parents should feel comfortable coming to school tomorrow, next week, and the upcoming days. As more information becomes available, we will get that to you as soon as possible. Dustin?
All right, Logan, thank you. And of course, Logan's live signal broke up a little, which is frustrating, but we're going to come back to Logan for the latest coming up. Still ahead here throughout the next couple hours here on 13 News at 4, 5, and 6.
And as we have stated before, we are just getting this information into our newsroom, and our news team has responded. So we're going to continue to stay on top of this breaking news, and we'll have more on this with full team coverage on 13 News at 5 and our mobile app.
Also making news this afternoon here in Indianapolis, Metro Police detectives are investigating a crash that killed a bicyclist on the south side. It happened around 7:15 this morning near East Raymond and Shelby Streets. Officers say they found a man dead in the street with severe injuries. The driver who struck him stayed at the scene and is cooperating with police. Right now, of course, we're working to learn the name of the bicyclist who was killed and what exactly happened. We'll let you know as soon as we find out. Lawmakers working to tackle property tax reform just made a major change in what relief would look like for Hoosiers. The latest version leaves cities and schools with more money, but homeowners with higher bills. So let's show you what we're talking about here. This week, senators largely abandoned Governor Braun's proposed property tax cuts and are instead putting the focus on limiting how much your tax bills can grow in the future. Senate Bill 1, as originally introduced, would have massively expanded the homestead deduction every homeowner gets on their primary residence. And the holes it would have left in local and school budgets was equally massive. Marion County would have lost $146 million in the first year. Hamilton County would have lost $140 million. The revised bill softens that blow to communities. So you can see the cut goes from $146 million in Marion County down to $24 million. And then in Hamilton County, it would go from $140 million to $18 million. This revised bill also still offers some savings to seniors and some first-time home buyers. Now, the change comes after a hearing last week, you may remember, where the mayors and other city officials, they told lawmakers the original bill would be catastrophic and devastating. Those were some of the words used to local services because, remember, property taxes pay for schools, roads, police, you name it. But these lawmakers are also trying to help out homeowners who say property taxes have grown out of control. The bill will now move on to the full Senate for consideration. We've got everything you need to know about this bill online. We're following all the twists and turns for you at WTHR.com.
Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is issuing a new warning this afternoon, and it's about immigration enforcement.
He says if IMPD and Indianapolis Public Schools don't cooperate with federal authorities, they'll face legal consequences. Rokita's office says leaders from IMPD and IPS have said they intend to restrict their cooperation with efforts to identify and deport undocumented immigrants. Indiana law bars local governments from restricting the enforcement of immigration law. Now, Rokita's statement says, in part, hardworking Hoosiers are sick and tired of paying the price to accommodate unlawful conduct. IMPD and IPS need to put Hoosiers first and cooperate with ICE or face legal consequences. That coming from Attorney General Todd Rokita there. But remember, last month, both IMPD and the FOP said, look, police have no power to enforce federal immigration law. Chief Bailey said, he posted on social media, they've never been asked to participate in immigration sweeps, nor do they plan to do so. He said, this is not our role. So a story we will continue to follow.
Yes.
Well, here's a story that could impact a lot of Hoosier families and school athletic programs. A change in the rules would likely allow Indiana students to transfer high schools for athletic reasons without any restrictions on their eligibility.
Let's talk about it. Rich Nye explains how state lawmakers are pushing for school choice when it comes to sports.
Almost 93% of athletes changing high schools this school year in Indiana received full athletic eligibility at their new school. But the Indiana High School Athletic Association restricts students from changing schools for what are deemed athletic reasons. State Representative Corey Criswell is the sponsor of a bill to change state law on that issue.
I believe that parents should have the choice to make those educational decisions for their child. They know their child the best, so that's the way I feel this needs to be implemented, and I like the guardrails that the IHSAA has put on it.
Those guardrails are a proposal to allow athletes one unrestricted transfer during the first 3 years of high school.
We're trying to make some adjustments to keep our rules from being in legislation, and I think the state legislator has appreciated our efforts to make changes. We've been in constant communication, and we're going to continue to move forward with potential changes.
The bill has passed the House and now will make its way through the state Senate. Representative Criswell says this legislation actually must pass to allow the IHSAA to change its bylaws on athletic transfers.
The IHSAA Board of Directors is expected to adopt the new transfer rules effective next school year at a meeting February 21st. Rich Nye, 13 News.
Well, turning our attention to weather, things have certainly improved through the day. We had an early start with some icing and some snow that was falling. Temperatures have stayed cold the entire day, but here's a little bit of good news. How about some blue sky appearing through the afternoon? We've been trying to clear out the clouds. They've been a little bit on the stubborn side. Temperatures, though, those have been on the stubborn side as well, and I think they're going to continue dropping, especially once we remove that blanket of clouds through the overnight. And the winds out of the west and northwest, look at this, it's bringing in some much colder air. So while we do clear the skies and it's nice to see some sunshine, that means we're going to see some colder temperatures for tonight. There are still a few leftover flurries around the area, but the trend is to get that out of here and go with clear skies through the next several hours. Temperatures will drop down into the low teens and likely even some single digits, especially the farther north you go. It is going to be a cold night. Winds should begin to relax a little bit. And then looking ahead to tomorrow, we do expect the temperatures to warm back up. We'll get a good bit of sunshine the early part of the day, but I'm expecting some clouds to continue building in as we get into the afternoon. And that's a sign of the next system that's going to impact your weekend. If you got weekend plans, make sure you're staying tuned because I'm going to have a look at that forecast for Saturday, which is going to be a bit of a mess. It's coming up.
All right, thanks for the heads up, Rob. Well, we all know the flu is running rampant right now. Here's a question, though. When is it okay to stay home, and then when should you consider going to the emergency room? A doctor is going to weigh in later this hour.
And a crash caught on camera. See what happens when an SUV gets rear-ended onto railroad tracks into the path of an oncoming train. More when we return.